West Asia is on fire. Missiles streak across skies. Air defense systems roar to life. Underground facilities are struck. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead. The Iran war has entered a dangerous new phase. The United States, alongside Israel, has targeted Iranian missiles infrastructure and strategic sites. Tehran calls it aggression. Washington calls it deterrence. But this war is not just exposing fault lines in West Asia. It is exposing fault lines inside NATO itself. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has ruled out alliance involvement in the Iran conflict. No NATO mission, no collective deployment, no Article 5. This is not Afghanistan 2001. This is not Iraq 2003. Back then, after 9/11, NATO invoked collective defense for the first time in its history. Allied troops poured into Afghanistan. In Iraq, divisions appeared, but several allies still joined the coalition. This time, there will likely be no boots on the ground from NATO allies. The message from Brussels is clear. This is not NATO's war. The United Kingdom has allowed the United States to use its bases to strike Iranian missile sites. That is logistical backing, strategic cooperation, but not combat deployment. France says it is ready to defend its Middle Eastern partners. Strong words, but there is no indication of French boots on the ground either. What we are seeing is calibrated distance, support but measured, backing but conditional. European allies are wary of escalation. They remember Iraq. They remember Afghanistan. 20 years, trillions spent, thousands lost, and little appetite at home for another ground war in the Middle East. Then comes Turkey, a NATO member, an alliance insider. Ankara has called the attack on Iran a clear violation of international law. That is not quite diplomacy, that is public dissent. Turkey's position exposes what many suspect: NATO is not unified on the conflict. Some see Iran as a threat that must be contained. Others see escalation as the bigger danger. And all of this is unfolding at a time of deep internal tensions within NATO. Since Donald Trump returned to the presidency, friction over defense spending has intensified. Washington is demanding more, much more. The burden-sharing debate is back with force. The US argues Europe relies too heavily on American protection. Several European capitals bristle at the pressure. Then there is Greenland. Trump's renewed focus on Greenland, a Danish autonomous territory, has unsettled parts of Europe. The Arctic is strategic, rich in resources, minerally vital. But discussions about influence and control have raised eyebrows in Copenhagen and beyond. For European allies, sovereignty is not negotiable. For Washington, strategic dominance in the Arctic is essential. This disagreement has deepened transatlantic mistrust, just as unity is most needed. The Iran conflict is different from 2001. Back then, NATO stood shoulder to shoulder. Today, NATO stands cautious, fragmented, calculating. No collective mobilization, no grand coalition of ground forces. Instead, limited strikes, strategic signaling, careful positioning. The alliance is balancing two fears: escalation abroad and fracture at home. The Iran war is testing deterrence in West Asia, but it is also testing cohesion in West. Can NATO project strength if its members disagree on strategy? Can it deter adversaries while debating its own unity? The missiles may be flying over Iran, but the political shockwaves are being felt across the Atlantic alliance. And in this war, the battlefield is not only in West Asia, it is inside NATO itself. With Rudrashish Kanjilal, Bureau Report, India Today Global.